Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review. This is going to be for Phased by Tori Tecken, or by Tori Tecken. This is a low fantasy, it's a dark fantasy, supernatural a little bit to some degree, although less so. Urban fantasy, that's the other one that I wanted to put on here that I forgot to write down. But yes, those are kind of some of the main subgenres that this falls into. Phased is the first book in a duology by Tori Tecken, or Victoria Tecken as she's known on this book. This is about two werewolf sisters, Val and Lila, and I wanted to read this because I wanted to support Tori and I wanted to see if I'd enjoy her books. The strange thing is, this isn't really my type of book. Most of the time I wouldn't intentionally read this type of story or reach for it, but I wanted to give it a shot and see what I thought. I'd heard lots of good things around BookTube, around the people, around my friends on BookTube in my corner, and I wanted to give it a shot, if nothing else, to support Tori and see what I thought of the book. Before I get into the rest of this review, I'd just quickly like to say, if you're liking what you're seeing from an Erudite adventure, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. So, Val and Lila are interesting characters. The most interesting to me is what they are and where they're placed. Meaning that they are true-blood werewolves that have not lived among human society, and that are placed in a school setting where they then have to be able to control themselves. Seeing that very personal character struggle is what kept me engaged throughout this story. And the more of their history that we got to see, the more we began to fully understand their struggles. And I'm not necessarily always a character reader. I don't always read specifically for characters, but they certainly do help. The Department of Domestication and Assimilation, or the DOA, is a government-sanctioned organization designed to help wares assimilate into the culture safely. This DOA is far more than it seems, as most government agencies are. You find out immediately that they are doing tests on werewolves and that they clearly aren't as virtuous as they seem to be. There's something else going on here. So on the one hand, there's this magical werewolf school side of things where we're watching these characters attempt to function as normally as possible. And then on the other hand, there's also a little bit of a mystery element to this book with the DOA and what's going on there. I know that Tekken wanted to do some exploration of some mental health stuff in this book, and that the part of that is the exploration of trauma with these characters, and I feel like that side of the story was well done as well. There's a good, easy writing style here that helps you through the book, and a good set of characters, a friend group, or a motley crew in this story to latch on to as well. So there's lots of things to love. It reminded me a little bit of Netflix's Wednesday, although I believe I'm almost positive this was released before Wednesday. Let's see. It's released in 2020, so yeah, it should have been before Wednesday came out. That's not important though, because I watched Wednesday first, and so I had that in my mind. And then when I read this, it reminded me a little bit of that show, which I actually think helped my enjoyment of the book as well, because I had good experience with Wednesday, and so I was hoping that experience kind of bled over to some degree into this book as well, even though they're very different stories. But there's enough similarities in like setting and stuff like that there was able to be some crossover in my enjoyment though, from that side of things. The thing for me though is, as I mentioned, this isn't the type of book that I would gravitate towards. And although I can appreciate a lot of what is going on in this book, and the writing and the storytelling itself, I knew it probably wouldn't be one of my favorite books, just because it's not the type of book that I generally read or that I would generally reach for. It took me a good while to read this. I started it in, I think, October, but that was mostly due to me not having a lot of time to physically read. So yeah, I should finish that. I started in October and I finished it in December. It was mostly taking so long because I didn't have a ton of time to physically read books, and I physically read this book. There's nothing else I could do except read it slowly when I came across it. It did read fairly quickly when I could dedicate some time to it though, but because of this, it took me a while to actually get really invested in the book. It took me several chapters beyond what normally would allow you to get invested, because I was spending so much time in between chapters or pages, because sometimes I couldn't even read a complete chapter before I really got invested in this story. All that being said, for a book that really isn't for me in many ways, I still ended up enjoying it quite a bit, and I especially appreciate that it was clean. It was a clean fantasy book, and there's few enough of those out there that I really appreciate seeing them when I do see them. I do plan on reading the second book in the duology when it gets released, but I'm not sure how long away that's going to be. I don't need to worry about that right now because I've got plenty of other books to read in the meantime, as well as Tori's new book, which is The Bloodstones, and I already own that one. I'm looking forward to reading that one when I can. I also think that that book will be, or that series, it's an epic fantasy series, will be more aligned with my personal tastes than Phased is. So anyways, that is my review for Phased by Victoria Tecken, or Tori Tecken. This is Tori Talks on YouTube. That's I keep referring to her as Tori as well, even though I try and refer to her as Tecken as in the review. But yeah, anyways, this is Tori. She's been a good friend to the channel, and so I'm excited to continue reading her books. And I was excited to actually read this one because it's not the first book that she's published, but it's the first one that I can read of what she has published. So anyways, thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We will see you guys again soon. Stay well.